What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I am back, ready to talk to all of you fine people about the NBA. And today, I want to discuss the 2025 NBA Coach of the Year winner, and that is Kenny Atkinson, the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who secured the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, currently down 2-0 to the Pacers right now, so that is not good. But the regular season was quite magical for the Cavaliers. They secured their best finish since the 2008-2009 season with a win total of 64 wins and 18 losses. That is a win percentage of 78%. Obviously, they also finished first in their division. They had an offensive rating of 121.7 and a defensive rating of 112.2. So Kenny Atkinson has some experience as a head coach with the Brooklyn Nets, but since then, he coached the Nets from 2016 to 2020. Since then, he's been an assistant with the Clippers, as well as an assistant with the Warriors, where he won a championship on that coaching staff in 2022. Kenny really just brought it together this year, right? The Cavs were really good last year. They, showed a lot of promise. They were just a really good team, right? But that was really it. They were just a really good team. They weren't like this, head and shoulders above everyone else. And that was with JB Bickerstaff, who obviously now is doing great with the Detroit Pistons. He actually also received plenty of Coach of the Year votes. And so last year, 48-34, win percentage of 58.5%. They finished second in their division. And they were just a little streaky, right? They were a little inconsistent. Obviously, this season, they were a lot more consistent. But let's talk about the actual voting and how that broke down. So Kenny Atkinson came away with 59 first-place votes for 401 points total out of a maximum of 500 points. JB Bickerstaff finished second with 31 first-place votes, 305 points total. Ime Udoka of the Houston Rockets had 7 first-place votes for 113 points. Mark Daigneault of the OKC Thunder had 2 first-place votes, 41 points. Tyronn Lue of the Clippers had 1 first-place vote, 35 points. And JJ Redick, the first-year head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, had 0 first-place votes but 5 points. All these coaches did extraordinary jobs this season. I have to tip my hat to JJ Redick, leading the Lakers to the number 3 seed. Being a first-time head coach, I think that's a very difficult job. And people will say, oh, well, he had Luka, he had LeBron, he had Anthony Davis for part of the year. I don't think any of that matters. I think other guys had, LeBron and AD, and they weren't nearly as good, right? Darvin Ham didn't have a record that was that good. So I shout out JJ Redick. I think a lot of people are just not giving him the credit he deserves. I mean, you can watch some of his old podcast episodes with the old man and the 3, or I think that's the name of it. And he just, the way he talks about the game is he's very intellectual when it comes to basketball. So shout out JJ Redick. Tyronn Lue is a very underrated head coach. The Clippers, couldn't get it done this season, but he is one of the best head coaches in the league by far. Mark Daigneault, you can see what OKC is doing. Obviously, he is a great fit for that team, and he's leading them to where they need to be, the number 1 team in the NBA. Ime Udoka, obviously also, I think his name has just been tainted a little bit by the whole situation with the Celtics. And then obviously Joe Mazzulla came in and won the championship. So a lot of people believe Ime Udoka would be a champion right now if he was still with the Celtics. I personally think that too. I think he probably would have won the chip with them. But I think he's going to do it in Houston. I think at some point he can win a championship with that team in Houston. Great team. And JB Bickerstaff, turned the Pistons from the worst team in the league to a solidified playoff team that, battled the Knicks for 6 games. So every coach on here did amazing, right? Hats off to all these guys. But Kenny Atkinson really kind of took it home. I kind of thought he was going to be the clear-cut favorite to win this award. Obviously, he comes away with it now. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Cavs can come back from this 0-2 hole that they're in. Game 2, they had a lot of injured players. Evan Mobley did not play. DeAndre Hunter did not play. Darius Garland did not play. Darius Garland also did not play in Game 1. So Donovan Mitchell had 48 points and they still couldn't get it done. They lost at the buzzer. Tyrese Halliburton, buzzer beater. Well, I don't know if it was a buzzer beater. I can't remember, but game winner, you know what I mean? And, you know, man, this is Kenny Atkinson's really done a great job. He's really done a great job, and I think the Cavs have a great team, but in order to really make your team great, you know, because you can have a ton of great players, doesn't mean you're going to have a great team. The coach, I think, is really what brings a great group of players together to be a great team. Because they had a lot of good players last season, right? They had a lot of great players last season. You know, this roster is not that much different. Obviously, you know, now they have DeAndre Hunter. You know, they've added in some other pieces as well. But this team was, you know, more or less very similar last season. And they still, you know, were not as good as they were this year. I think having that defined voice in the locker room, having a coach that has everyone buy into the same goal, same mission. Everyone knows their roles. Everyone knows what they need to be doing on and off the court. That's really what brings it together. And the Cavs start off, I think, like 15-0. I think that was the best start they've ever had in franchise history. So hats off to Kenny Atkinson. You know, I could rave about this guy all day long. I think he's a great coach. I think regardless of where the Cavs finish in the playoffs this season, you know, he still needs to be given his flowers. I think coaches don't get enough love in the league, but at the end of the day, like, these guys are in the trenches with the players, right? They're not on the court, but in some sense that almost makes it harder, right? Like, if you're on the court, it's a little bit easier to sense the game out. When you're just watching it from the sidelines, it's a little bit tougher. You really have to know your players. You have to know their play style. You have to know everything. And he's figured it out, and he knows how to do it well. So shout out Kenny Atkinson. Let me know what you guys think about Kenny, and, you know, who should have won the Coach of the Year. Do you agree with the award being given to Kenny? Do you think someone else should have won? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'm gonna check you guys later, man. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay up, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.